All right, hello everyone, and welcome to CineQuest Video. Today we're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite movies of all time. Today we do have a special guest. It is not just me giving you my list or any of the other podcast contributors that you normally would see, but today we have Swan on the episode today. Thank you, Swan, for joining us or joining me.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Swan, we have talked about movies kind of briefly to each other many times, and this was kind of a list that we decided to go through, but with some rules, specific rules,
Yes.
which made it extremely hard for me.
Hey, I had to challenge you.
Yeah, absolutely. So no franchises, no nothing that's a sequel, and I think that was pretty much it, right? Nothing that was. Those are basically the rules. Yeah.
They basically had to be standalone. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was difficult because the minute we started talking about this list, the first thing that came to mind were a bunch of the franchises that I do love. So I had to kind of put those out of my mind. We're just going to get right to it. So this is going to be our top 10 list of favorite movies. It might be of all time, but it's favorite movies as of right now as standalone films. So
should we do how did you want to do this? Did you want to maybe start from sorry, I can't talk. Is there like a specific order to them? Like, I have mine numbered, but I don't necessarily like them in that order. Do you know what I mean?
No. I could not for the life of me put them in a specific order. They're just So the list is as is, but is top 10. I do have a few honorable mentions at the end, so if you have any of those you can throw out, that's perfectly fine as well.
Wait, are the honorable mentions franchises or
no they're honorable mentions as single films as well, so
okay, so no, I don't think I have any prepared, but if some come to mind, maybe I'll mention them.
okay, so who wants to go first? Do you want to go first? You want me to go first?
You can go first if you'd like. I'm really curious to see what you have. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll go first just to kind of get things started. My first film, and you're probably gonna like scoff at me for this one, is Inglourious Basterds, which is the Quentin Tarantino movie. That one, that one, probably one of the first movies I've seen in a long time from Quentin Tarantino. Most people would say like Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction or something like that. I like Inglourious Basterds. I saw it in the theater and was one of the first. Well, one of the few movies that I snuck into another showing immediately afterwards to watch it again because I liked it that much. And it's all basically, I think this was probably for me Quentin Tarantino's kind of mature dialogue that he kind of started writing. But I would say it's not necessarily Quentin Tarantino's dialogue. It's mostly the actors that sold it for me specifically, especially that first scene. I completely forget the actor's name, but I think every actor in this movie like sold the whole movie for me, and that's basically it. Because I mean, I've seen other Quentin Tarantino movies, and there's some scenes that just drag along. You know, like the dialogue just goes on and on and on. It really has nothing to do with the movie itself. It's just kind of filler. But this one was the only time I feel that the movie from front to back was a 10 out of 10. And specifically, I looked on IMDb. I had rated it already. Long time ago, a 10 out of 10 for me specifically. So, a ghost.
Oh no, it's because one of my cats knocked something over. Sorry. Okay. No, I was going to say, as much as I like to be a Quentin Tarantino hater, I don't hate him. It's just kind of like, everybody, like every movie aficionado likes to say like, oh yes, Quentin Tarantino. I'm like, I'm over it. But I will admit, Inglourious Basterds is a good one. I did enjoy that one.
Okay.
I enjoyed it more than Pulp Fiction because I did like Pulp Fiction too. But I enjoyed Inglourious Basterds more than Pulp Fiction, even though I liked Pulp Fiction.
Me too. I mean, I enjoy a lot of his movies, and I can say for that there are portions of the movies themselves that do drag or they're boring because. And I say specifically for Reservoir Dogs, there's that whole scene at the table that kind of drags on. And Death Proof, not his best work either. But Inglourious Basterds, I haven't seen that one. My Inglourious Basterds is my favorite of Quentin Tarantino's. And I also tried to keep it to as one director movies. Like not multiple movies by the same director. So
oh, you made it even more challenging.
Yeah, yes, I did. And again,
I didn't even think about that.
So
you upped the ante.
I did for myself specifically. The list wasn't done until like 2 days ago. After that, I had to just let it go and not include it anymore. So if you want to give your first pick.
All right. Okay. So this one, I know you're probably going to say something, but you know, like how I am about like Quentin Tarantino, you're like this about the genre of period pieces, I guess, like period dramas or stuff like that. But this one is specifically special to me because it was one of the first movies that I saw for myself. And what I mean by that, I was like, it was not like, oh, like a family pick or something my mom or dad picked for my sister and me to watch when we were kids. I just happened to be in the room when my dad was watching it on television, and I was really captivated by it. And I don't know, it just kind of, it's one of those kind of like defining movies for me. Because it led to certain things that happened as in my life as I was growing up, like as a young kid and into my adolescence. And that movie is Amadeus. I was 10 years old when I first saw it. Like I said, the first time I saw it was through television. It was a televised version of it. And then I didn't even get to see the whole thing. I saw it like maybe from like towards the beginning to like the end, like because I kind of didn't see the beginning of it when I first saw it. And then I was really insistent that I wanted that movie. I was like, Dad, I want to have this movie. I want this movie. And so for my 10th birthday, that ended up being our first DVD that we ever owned, because DVDs were barely becoming a thing, you know. It was like still like it happened during the transition from VHS to DVD. And yeah, like that was the first DVD we ever purchased. It was $19.99. I still remember that. And we bought our first DVD player along to go with it. And the DVD player that we bought had like this function on it called A/B repeat. And I would repeat my favorite scenes over and over again. And I watched that movie from beginning to end, sometimes multiple times a day, every day for 3 months. And I had that movie memorized word for word, and my family got sick of me for it. So like I said, it's just kind of like a defining movie for me. And that's why I love it so much. It's what got me into orchestra. It's the reason why I play violin. And I've even gone back and watched it like a couple of months ago, like, you know, as an adult, and it still holds up for me. It's really well made. It was nominated for all these Oscars. I think F. Murray Abraham, who played Salieri, he won Best Actor for his performance. So it is really good, and not only because the Academy like claimed that it is, but I am also self-claiming that I really enjoy the film, and I think it's worth a watch.
You have suggested that movie.
Did you ever get to see it?
I've not seen it yet. It's still waiting for me to watch. But no, I do plan on watching it at some point, because I do like, just because it is a quote unquote period piece, it has to do with like music and stuff like that, which is something I love as well. So if it's a movie about like an artist or something like that, kind of intrigues me as well. So that's why I do want to watch it. I just never did for the longest time. I thought it was a horror movie for the longest time. The cover, I used to see the cover in the Blockbuster at Movieland near my house, and it just looked creepy, you know. And I was just like, I don't know if I was going to watch that movie. I didn't even know how to pronounce the name.
Yeah, the cover is kind of creepy, right?
Yeah. All right, so that's your first choice.
Yeah, I only knew the pronunciation because of the movie. They say his name.
My next movie is going to be Big Trouble in Little China. This is a John Carpenter movie. The one rule that I did break for myself, which if anyone who's listened in the past does know that I tend to break those rules, or we all break those rules at some point. I did have 2 movies from John Carpenter on this list, even though just a little while ago I said I tried to have one director per movie. But Big Trouble in Little China has to do with it's Kurt Russell going through China, trying to help Little China, I guess in New York, probably California, I'm not sure where. And they're looking for some girl with green eyes, and they come across this wizard Lopan, and it's just a bunch of fighting. I used to watch this movie as a kid all the time, and I was always obsessed with the fight scenes, especially when all those magical guys come through with the little spinning things, electrical stuff, whatever. And I would imagine myself in the fight doing my best to like beat up all these guys. Of course, obviously that could never happen. But it is a movie that I've watched many times over as a kid, and it is one of my favorite movies ever. And I will continue to watch it. I have lots of memorabilia, shirts, DVDs, many copies of it. So that is why it is one of my favorite movies.
I vaguely have memory of seeing that movie. I'm like, I don't know if I've seen it from beginning to end, but I know my parents liked that movie, and so I think I saw bits and pieces of it, and I remember enjoying what I saw. Like I was a kid. I don't remember it. I haven't seen it in my adulthood, but I feel like it is one of those movies that I wouldn't mind, like, watching again, like just to kind of revisit it, and it'd probably be like watching it for the first time for me.
Right.
So,
We actually did an episode where we talked about this movie, and surprisingly, a lot of the guys that were on the episode hadn't watched it either.
wow.
I mean, in my household, Big Trouble in Little China was a staple. We watched it all the time. Every Sunday, you had to do those Sunday matinees on Channel 4, Channel 5. We would watch it during those times. But yeah, that is another one of my favorite movies. Swan, you want to get to your next one?
My next one that I have is my second one. And also kind of defining one, probably not as much as Amadeus, or maybe it is just as much. I don't know. We'll see, because I did go to school for this. My second movie is Chaplin. So I discovered this movie because I was going through like my adolescent Robert Downey Jr. phase. And I think the first movie that made me notice him as an actor was probably Iron Man, which I mean, a lot of people know him for. But I mean, that movie caused me to kind of like look him up and look up his filmography and see what else he had been in. And then I for some reason wanted to see more of what he did in his youth rather than like, later on, like in like his more contemporary stuff. So
some of his youth movies are ridiculous. He came out in Weird Science and Tough Turf.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I think some of like his like stuff that I saw like when he was younger was like I don't know if you heard of this one called Less Than Zero.
Yeah.
And then there's this also one called what is it called? I'm blinking. Air America with him and Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a pretty funny one. And then there's like this other one. He's not so young in this one. He's more like in his like maybe in like his like early to mid 30s in these. But like I saw Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Singing Detective, and there's like a whole other like list of movies that I ended up watching because I liked Robert Downey Jr. And Chaplin was amongst them. And when I watched Chaplin for the first time, I was like, I knew of Charles Chaplin before, Charlie Chaplin, like, he's a really iconic figure in silent film. But I had never kind of seen like or knew anything about his background or his story. Right. And that movie is kind of like, a good idea or a glimpse at what like his life may have been like, because they used his autobiography to kind of like write the script for this film. And it made me a huge fan of Chaplin, and albeit there are some things about him that are kind of like controversial. Yeah. But he was a brilliant actor and he was a brilliant filmmaker, and he's kind of like a big deal with how the film industry is run today, because a lot of like back before like when film just started, like actors were just kind of seen as like like a regular worker, like they were just the entertainment. They weren't anything important, or they weren't anything regarded with like like they weren't they weren't celebrated like they are today.
Right.
And him and a lot of other actors kind of united, and they formed United Artists. I know it was him, Douglas Fairbanks, and a couple of other actors. I don't know who, I forgot who else was amongst the ones who created United Artists, but they kind of united together to kind of form, like, you know, the prestige, like, I guess, of like Hollywood.
Okay.
And
I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah. And so he was kind of like, you know, responsible for that. Like, well, one of the ones that responsible. He wasn't the only one, but he was one of the ones who kind of like, you know, embarked or kind of started all that in Hollywood. And but yeah, like I've watched, like, it made, like, that movie made me a bigger Charles Chaplin fan, and it led me to watch a lot of his movies, and it's part of the reasons why I'm into that Criterion collection, because that specific collection has released a lot of Chaplin's films through its collection.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched The Great Dictator, I watched Gold Rush and The Kid. One of my favorite Chaplin films so far from the ones I've seen is Monsieur Verdot, where he's this kind of guy who's marrying rich women, well, like old rich women, and then he kind of, like, you know, kills them to gain their money. But it's done in a very comedic way, so
yeah,
it was pretty good. And but yeah, like I really enjoyed Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of this man. And he was nominated for his first Oscar for this film. I think it might have been his first Oscar nomination. I'm not really sure, so don't really quote me on that. But well, we'll look that up later. But like, and you can maybe write a note like, "Oh, his first." Anyhow,
you gotta deal with the consequences of the stuff you say on that.
No. I will, of course, always. I accept when I'm wrong. But anywho, he was nominated for this movie. I think unfortunately he lost to Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman.
I've seen that
which
one.
I just think he was snubbed, but I've never seen Scent of a Woman, so I'm just being biased. That's why I like Chaplin.
I haven't seen Chaplin. I have seen Scent of a Woman though. And
how was that movie? Was it really good?
It was a really good movie. But Chaplin was one of those films that I just never got around to. Like, I always knew of it. I remember the trailers when it came out in the theaters and stuff like that, but I just never saw it. Like, I've seen Charlie Chaplin movies. I've seen a lot of Chaplin movies. I just never seen this biography of him. You know?
It really is worth a watch, I think, because it's kind of like you get to see Robert Downey Jr. not be Tony Stark, because like a lot of people know him as like Tony Stark now, or Iron Man now, and that's what they associate him with. And I feel like, I mean, he does other things. He's done other things, a lot of great things, but I feel like they associate that time of his life with his past, you know, and it just kind of sucks because he's trying to, I think he's trying to leave that behind him, but they always, every time like something good that he's done in the past, like work wise, comes up, but that also gets brought up too, and it's just like it sucks.
That is one of those movies that, like, I feel like has been almost forgotten in his filmography, where people have like not even mentioned that, because I know like that was held in high regard at the time.
Yeah,
but it's not, again, it's because people see him as Tony Stark now, and he's been that character for almost over a decade now, and so people just grab onto that, especially if you're young. I mean, most people don't even know he did anything prior to that, practically. So I mean, we'll see.
Well, they should IMDb him like I did in my youth, and then they just should watch his older films.
Right, especially Weird Science, Tough Turf. You know,
I need to watch that one. Wait, he was in another one. What other one did I watch him with? Like, I was just like, it's the one where he kind of had like a gap in his tooth, and I'm not sure if that was natural or that was just kind of like a makeup type of thing.
No, that was natural. I think.
Really?
When he was younger, he had like that kind of gap in his tooth, because I know I saw it and I'm going to mention it for the third time. Weird Science, Tough Turf. When he was like probably like, I would say he's either in his late teens or early 20s when he came out in those movies. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, he came out in like like a bunch of like side roles when in the like early '80s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
definitely.
wasn't much of anything, and then like he started getting more prominent lead roles later on in his life. But
Yeah.
also during that time, he was the whole drug thing and all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
still didn't affect the acting. He was still a really good actor amongst all the
Yeah.
troubled times. But it there's a little bit of an asterisk on those performances. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I know.
We'll go into my next one. My seventh or my third movie is Spinal Tap, and that is a
Oh.
mockumentary with it's Rob Reiner, and I keep forgetting all their names, but this is a classic. This has been a classic movie for a long time. Like that kind of tells the story of a fake band, and they're being documented. They're kind of at their end of their career. Their tensions are high in the band, and like there's been a lot of like cliches in the film that a lot of rock stars in the '80s have said were like really true regarding like them catching diseases or groupies in the band or them losing their way up to the stage whenever they're going to perform, all those little kind of things. But the movie itself is hilarious. The performances from the three main band members, flawless. They play like this fake British band, and it's just insane. But the music itself is also entertaining, and I know they wrote and played all the instruments as well.
Oh
And
wow.
the movie itself, also there was no script either. They kind of had just like scenarios, and they would improv a lot of things. So that's where kind of the movie is built on. But if
Yeah.
Spinal Tap, one of my favorites. Also, I could see it many times. It's still funny. I laugh at every joke the same. It's very subtle. It's not like overtly uh, like physical comedy or anything like that. It's all just in the kind of delivery of the lines, and that's why I love it. So
Um I've heard of that movie. I don't know too much about it, but I don't know why. And you please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm getting like this image in my head where like the that has like a kind of like flashy type of like font, like almost kind of like a metallic
yeah,
thing for
yeah,
Spinal Tap. Yeah, that's the one.
that's
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I would always see that. Like I'd like like kind of in the face fronts for like Blockbuster or any
Mhm.
rental place that you went, and I was just like, it kind of like made me curious as to what it was, but I never like said, "Hey, I wanted to see this movie," because
Yeah,
like I didn't know what it was. It just kind of
yeah,
had like an interesting cover to me, but I didn't understand why it was interesting.
yeah. The cover itself doesn't lend it like to someone to be intrigued to watch it, especially if it's not kind of like it looks like if you ever seen like the downfall of Western civilization, a lot of those like old documentaries. It's like it's a documentary, but it's because of it's a fake band. Um,
Mhm.
if you're not that's not your style, then it's probably not going to be something that you're into, especially if you're not into documentaries, which I don't know if too many people are. I love documentaries. I thought this was real for a while because the band itself performed as the fake band, like on Saturday Night Live, and they came out as those characters. And for a while there, I thought they were real, but then find out that of course they're not. So um, it's just a nice little fun look at like what it kind of a band would be in the '80s, and it's all fake but kind of true at the same time. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you check it out. It's a classic.
Mhm.
People love Spinal Tap. I love Spinal Tap. So
Since you said it has it's comedic, right?
yeah, it's a comedy. It's
It's,
a comedy.
it's, so I wanted to ask you, like, since you're like they're like this kind of like fake band in the 80s. Is it anything like that movie Rockstar with Mark Wahlberg?
Uh, Not necessarily because like they're filmed differently.
Okay.
But the film, I know the film Rockstar is kind of loosely based, or it might be like I think it's loosely based on Ripper Owens, who took over singing duties for Judas Priest.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was in a tribute band for Judas Priest, Ripper Owens, and then like they fired Rob Halford, and then they got him and put him as the frontman. And I know that happened in Rockstar too. Like I think he was in a tribute band, and then the real band put him as a front one, something like that. But they're filmed very differently. They're very different formats on the way they. Because I mean, Rockstar is basically a movie with a script. Spinal Tap is just kind of improv. They're kind of putting and they kind of just kind of go with it. Yeah. So
that sounds cool though. I want to see that.
I will say the comedians themselves, those are like professional comedians. Like you don't see those kind of comedians very often where they can write, they can improv, they can play their instruments, and they sing. They're not the best at all at any of these things, but they just do it well. So yeah. So that's
where it works, you know.
Yeah. And I think it's hilarious. So, but Swan, your next one.
Oh, what are we on? Number 3, right?
I think we're on the third one.
Okay. Yeah, so my third one is a weird one. I don't know why I gravitated towards this film. I just did. And it's not like, oh, I agree with it. It's more kind of like, I like the way it was written. Like, and I of course read the book after I saw the movie too, and I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I've mentioned this movie too, but
probably
I'm referring to A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
And I remember the first time I watched that movie, I think freshly graduated from high school, and I was hanging out with some of my friends, and amongst my group of friends back then, there was one of us was still in high school, and she said, "Hey, my English teacher showed us this weird movie today, and then she put it on for us. Like I think we had to download it or something, and then she put it on for us, and then like we were watching it, and everybody was like, what the." Everybody was like just kind of freaking out, like, what is this? Like, why would your teacher show you this? And then while everybody just kind of slowly like lost interest and just started like, like they just continued talking to each other, I just kind of like stayed watching it. I don't know why. I was just kind of like, where's this going? And then I didn't get to finish watching the movie with them, but I ended up telling my parents about it, and then we rented it, and then we all watched it together, and then I ended up just liking the movie a lot, like a lot. Like it was just kind of like this strange type of story about this young guy and his like mischief friends, and it's told that he's narrating the story to you. He's kind of like, and then I saw this thing on like one of like the featurettes, I think, of the film that was saying like the way it's kind of like told, like the way the Clockwork Orange is told through like Alex's perspective, it's almost like if he's like you, the audience, is like maybe his confidant, and that's why even though he's like a horrible human being, you still somehow empathize with him, and you don't understand why, because he's doing these terrible things. I mean,
right.
He like beats someone, he rapes a woman,
and
he just does these horrible acts of terror towards like the people in his community, and then it like he only gets caught because his friends they turn him into like well, they don't really turn him in. It's just kind of like they set him up, and then they abandon him, and then he gets caught, and then he gets thrown in prison, and then the government just kind of like says, "Oh, hey, you want to be released, kid? Well, like we have this whole program," but like and they just like kind of made him into like this kind of like science experiment where they kind of like basically like take away his ability to like his freedom of his free will. He can't all the things that he, I guess, naturally wanted to do before, like he couldn't do that anymore because they were causing him to act negatively towards violence, which is what he was all about. And while like that would be like ideal because like you don't want anybody committing violence, you're still stripping him away from the choice of being able to do that or not. Yeah. And so it was just kind of like weird because like he gets himself into all these situations after he's released, and you kind of feel a little bad for him, or I felt a little bad for him, but at the same time I didn't understand why I was feeling bad for him, because he did all these bad things. It's just like the way the story was told. Stanley Kubrick did a phenomenal job of like directing it, like his vision, his team, they executed it like.
And who's you remember the name of the actor is Malcolm, right? Malcolm something.
McDowell, yeah.
McDowell, right? Yeah, I remember seeing that movie with a group of my family members, my cousins. We just turned it on one day, and everyone was kind of like in shock, just like in the first like couple minutes of the movie. You know, even with all those like disturbing scenes of like sexual assault and stuff like that. But I didn't, just like you, I didn't finish seeing it during that time. I ended up seeing it later. And I would say like you do have like almost like kind of conflicting emotions with this character, because you kind of start to feel somewhat empathetic towards him, or sympathetic. And you know, I shouldn't. He's like a bastard, like you know. But yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Clockwork Orange, it's just on my top 10 list because I recognize how like it on all kind of levels. Like it does really well with storytelling. Like it's very stunningly visually stunning.
Yeah.
And it's just the acting, like just everything is just really, really good. And even though it's a story about a horrible, horrible kid, it's just really well told.
Yeah. I'll go on to my number 4. My number 4 is Office Space.
Oh, okay.
Mike Judge making this movie about a guy named Peter Gibbons. He works in like a tech office.
Yeah.
And basically I would say he's disgruntled, but he's very depressed and very unhappy with his job, the people that he works with, his boss. Office Space has a bunch of like classic characters in it. Very quotable. I don't know how you grew up or if you are familiar with Office Space, but
yes, I am. But I haven't seen it.
Any one of my friends that have like watched the movie, like this thing gets quoted like every single day, every other day. We were all living together as a bunch of college guys, like live like as roommates. Everyone's quoting Office Space.
Isn't that the one where they like break a printer or something like that?
Yeah, and it has a bunch of like hardcore rap as a soundtrack and stuff. And yeah, the little dichotomy between like or like the contradictions of like the type of movie that it is, a bunch of like white guys and even an Indian guy working in an office, very boring, and then like overlaid with a hardcore rap soundtrack, especially a hardcore rap from Texas, you know, Scarface, the Ghetto Boys, that's some like hardcore shit. So it just adds to the comedic value of the movie. And also the soundtrack that I listen to, because you think like you're a gangster in your head, you know, living a boring life, working a boring job, and you throw in that song. I think Office Space puts a smile on my face. That kind of rhyme.
Yeah. That was an intentional rhyme. Nice. See, it's cool when it happens like that, right?
So, and of course, Mike Judge, he's done a bunch of other movies as well. He's done Idiocracy. He's done, he was Beavis and Butthead. He was the main guy from Beavis and Butthead and stuff like that. And
okay, I know that.
And King of the Hill, the cartoon.
Oh.
So I'm a big fan of Mike Judge, but this was like probably his peak movie for me. Even though he is bringing back Beavis and Butthead, and we'll see how that turns out. But Office Space.
Wait, he's bringing it back?
Yeah, it's coming back. Beavis and Butthead. Yeah.
What? I didn't know that. Well, that's pretty cool.
We'll see how that turns out. But I mean, I anything Mike Judge does, I really like it a lot. Whether it's a cartoon or movie or TV show, like I'm down for it. Oh, he also did the show just on HBO recently. It was Silicon Valley, also one of my favorites.
I haven't heard of it, but I mean I've heard of it. I haven't seen it though.
Yeah. It's all really good. I love it. I am a fan of anything Mike Judge does, but Office Space is still one of my favorites. So
I'm more familiar with some of those things than I even realized, because I didn't even know who Mike Judge was until you just mentioned it. But like,
Yeah.
huh? Like, I'll have to look more into that. And I like Office Space has been on my list for a while, but I was always told to watch it. That's really funny, and I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's on my list of movies to watch.
Mike Judge is from Texas, so that's why there's a lot of themes in Mike Judge's stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Huh. No bias being from Texas, and just because he is from Texas, but I just think that it's a nice little bit of trivia from some people from Texas. You got a good film, good writer out there making great stuff. So
we gotta promote ourselves, especially so we can grow.
He doesn't need our help, I can tell you that.
No, so like we can grow, like we're in Texas too.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your next movie, Swan?
Oh, geez. Okay, you're not gonna like this one. My number 4 is Pride and Prejudice. That goes without saying. And I want to clarify, it's the one with Keira Knightley, not the one with Colin Firth. Because I get a lot of people who love Jane Austen tell me that the Colin Firth one is better. But, and I will say that I haven't seen the Colin Firth one, so I can't really comment on it, but I have seen clips, especially clips of like my favorite moments in the movie with Keira Knightley. So I kind of watched them kind of side by side to see who did what better. And one of my favorite scenes from Pride and Prejudice is Darcy's confession of his feelings to Elizabeth Bennet. And I just love the way it's done in the Keira Knightley version. I call it the Keira Knightley version just because she's like the main star of it, but it's actually like, directed by Joe Wright. He's probably one of my favorite directors. Like, he does a lot of like this kind of stuff. He's done Anna Karenina. He did that one episode on Black Mirror. The one with Bryce Dallas Howard. The one. What, do you remember the name of the episode? I can't remember.
I know, but it's the one where they're like giving each other likes and stuff.
Like, yeah, where they're rating each other. Yeah. Oh, I can't remember the name of it. That's another footnote right there.
I can tag it on the bottom here of the screen. So.
Exactly. Yeah. But that movie is just so well done. I just love the chemistry between the two actors. I love the way the emotions are delivered in this film, and I felt that the Colin Firth one just lacked those emotions. And I'm a very emotional type of person. I like to see like those emotions, not necessarily an overreaction of them, but like I like when they're done, when they're delivered well and delivered genuinely. And I felt that the ones in Joe Wright's version were more genuine, in my opinion. And I felt, to me, like Colin Firth's delivery was just kind of monotone almost. It just didn't have that same weight to it. You didn't feel like what he's feeling, and it's just like, I didn't care for it. But then one of my friends, she argued that, but like that's how like they were back then, like back in the day. They were like always trying to hide how they really felt, and like especially like they couldn't even like reveal or express themselves, like like in clothing, like if you saw so much as like their ankle, that was enough to like get them all like. I was like, who? And then I was just kind of like thinking, like, who's talking about like ankle showing and stuff like that? I'm talking about like how you're feeling and stuff like that. And that's and so that's why I just love the way the acting is done. And it's really also, again, visually stunning too. Like the choreography is really beautiful. The sets and the costumes are so beautiful in this movie. I stand by me being really favored for this version or adaptation of Pride and Prejudice over any other one that I've sort of seen or have seen as of yet. Right. It's really good. There are just so many beautiful moments that I always like to like remember, like with my fellow fans of Jane Austen. Like I really like that this one moment when Darcy and Bennett like are dancing for the first time, and they're kind of conversing, and they like their conversation turns into an argument, and he kind of gets mad at her, and he says like, well, what are you trying to figure out? She's like, oh, I'm just trying to figure out your character. And I love the line that he says in response to that, because he says to her, well, I hope to afford you more clarity in the future. Mm-hmm. Because to me, that line is kind of telling her that in his own way, he's kind of even telling her that, hey, I like you, and I want to see more of you and socialize more with you. And because like she seems kind of shocked by it, because like previously in another like encounter with him, she had overheard him like referring to her as like barely tolerable, and here he is saying that he wants to be more clear to her in the future. Yeah. I know, and she's just like, what? But it's just kind of like they're always kind of playing like these like mind games with each other almost, because they're both so prideful and don't want to admit to like their actual feelings, or at least not only do they not want to admit to each other, they more don't want to admit to themselves that they actually like feel the way they feel with up for each other, because of their pride. And but yeah, it's a beautiful story. I've read like about maybe half of Jane Austen's film, like a book, but I was too young to understand like the language of it, because I did start reading it when I was like a teenager, and I feel like I would probably understand it more now. So I've always been meaning to revisit the story and like actually finish it this time, because I feel like I'd have a better understanding of it now than I did back then. But yeah, that's my number 4. What's your number 5?
No, I've never read any Jane Austen, and I'm pretty sure I never will. But I'm probably more open to watching the film adaptations of these movies as opposed to reading the story.
Oh, you should. I mean, like, there's a movie called Jane Austen Book Club. I don't know if you've heard of it. Like, it's got that guy. What's the name? I think it's Hugh Dancy or something like that. He comes out in. Did you see the show Hannibal with Matt Mikkelsen?
I've seen some episodes. I've never seen the whole thing though.
He's the detective guy.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. He's in this movie called Jane Austen Book Club, and they just it's like about like these group of people that are in a book club, and all they read is Jane Austen. So see, if he was in that book club, so can you.
Well, speaking of not Jane Austen, we'll go to my number 5, which is the movie Young Frankenstein. Mel Brooks movie. I think it's Peter Doyle, Gene Wilder. I can forget the name of the rest of the characters, but the cast itself is amazing. Gene Wilder as Frankenstein, not Frankenstein. And you have the classic Igor character, but it pronounced Igor. It's Igor, but they pronounce it Igor. But he does it kind of like just as because he's pissed off because he mispronounced Frankenstein or whatever. This movie, I saw it when I was a kid, and since then it has not left my collection. I have multiple copies of Young Frankenstein as well. It is one of Gene Wilder's like classic performances. Even the character of the monster, who is the dad in like Everybody Loves Raymond, is amazing. The Frau Bruja character, who's supposed to be Dr. von Frankenstein, the older one, the uncle, his girlfriend. Like everyone's character is just so great. I love this movie so much. It's so funny. It's classic Mel Brooks. I think I've memorized every bit of this movie, all the dialogue in this movie.
Wow.
I can turn it off and like say every line. verbatim. Like I've seen it that many times, and I will continue to see it. And I literally laugh at every single moment, every single time, the same way all the time. Like it's the first time I hear the joke. But I mean, as I don't know if you could tell, like at some point or another, like I have a lot of like comedies in my top
Yeah.
movies. I love comedies. There's many more comedy. If it was just a comedy top 10, there'd be a hell of a lot more. But and Young
Yeah.
Frankenstein is a staple. Young Frankenstein is just a top 10 of all time favorite movies. To me, it's one of the best ever made.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Young Frankenstein as a parody of the adaptation of the Mary Shelley book and movies, the old movies themselves, just fantastic. I love it.
I was going to say that Young Frankenstein is your Amadeus, because like I did that with Amadeus, like how with the whole memorizing like the movie word for word.
I will say I did the same thing with the Breakfast Club too.
Really?
I used to sit there. I think Breakfast Club is not on my list here, but it was. I took it off. But Breakfast Club I saw multiple times. I think for like 1 year, I saw it almost every day.
Oh my God, that's a record.
Yeah, and I memorized every single piece of that movie, like every line, every monologue. I can say it right here off the top of my head. I won't, but yeah, I would just practice saying the lines because I thought they were just so great. But yeah, so for some reason I thought there was going to be a point in time where that knowledge was going to do me some good. It hasn't in any way, shape, or form. But I thought I can impress with my monologue of John Bender from Breakfast Club, or my lines from Young Frankenstein. I've not been able to do that at any point, just in my own head when I'm by myself in my room.
Hey, that's a monologue right there.
Yes.
If you ever need a monologue, if you're auditioning for something, like right there, you have it. You have Young Frankenstein and you have Breakfast Club.
Yeah. So, Breakfast Club, number 5 for me.
No, not Breakfast Club, Young Frankenstein.
I'm sorry, Young Frankenstein. Sorry. That'd probably be like one of my honorable mentions. But yeah, for Young Frankenstein, I actually just bought it on Blu-ray, like another copy recently. So I had to have the VHS recorded copy, the DVD, the Blu-ray, and I probably have other memorabilia from that too. So like, yeah.
I haven't seen Young Frankenstein. It's been on my list, and I've been told that it's really, really good. And I look forward to watching it one day. But I do really like Mel Brooks. Mm-hmm. I think I've only maybe seen one of his films, but that's enough for me to say that I like him because I can recognize his work and how great he is at what he does. And the movie that I got to saw was Dracula Dead and Loving It. And that movie is so freaking funny. That movie is so good. Like, I could not stop laughing when I saw that movie. It was just, so like that made me want to watch more of his stuff. So like if he can make me laugh that much with that film, like I'm sure I'll be laughing with his other films as well.
I'll tell you this, that Dracula Dead and Loving is not even his best one.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to go to like Spaceballs?
He did Spaceballs.
He did Spaceballs as well.
What?
He did The Producers, which is like a really good musical. I don't know if you've seen that.
With the one with Matthew Broderick?
He did. Well, he wrote.
No, or the other one.
Well, the original. He did that one, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But he's the original guy from The Producers. You have Blazing Saddles, which is a very controversial movie as well.
Okay.
I'm blanking on any other ones, but I mean, Robin Hood Men in Tights is also.
Okay. I haven't seen that one, but I've heard that it's funny too.
Mel Brooks movies are just a fun, good time, you know.
Yeah.
Dracula Dead and Loving It was also one of my favorites when I was a kid because it's just nuts. It's just ridiculous movie.
Yeah, it is, but it's so good.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Young Frankenstein. There it is. What's your number 5, Swan?
Let me see. I have Little Miss Sunshine.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
And you've seen that one? Okay.
Yeah, I have. It's really good.
All right. So this one, the reason why I like Little Miss Sunshine a lot, and by the way, I will mention this before I get into why this movie means so much to me, is because, like, fun little facts, like, I didn't really care for Steve Carell as an actor until I saw this film.
Yeah, he's surprisingly really good.
Yeah, I saw because I had tried to get into The Office back then before before I even watched this movie, and I couldn't get into it because I thought his character in that episode in that show I just found him annoying, I think, at first. But then again, to be fair, it was still on air when I was trying to watch The Office, and it was probably like the first season or two, and even trying to watch it now, like the first season is kind of hard to get through, but you just kind of have to push through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie really is the film that made me recognize Steve Carell and made me see him in a different light, because I was just really blown away by his performance in this movie, and just like the whole cast in general. Like, I watched this movie during the time when I was in a really dark place, and I was going through like a major depressive episode, and this movie pulled me out of it. Like, I watched it like maybe 3 or 4 times a day, and I cried the first time I watched it in the very opening credits. Like, I just started crying, like, and the line where like, and it's so funny because like you would probably think like, oh, like the line where like Greg Kinnear is kind of like talking about like his 9-step program, like he's just kind of like saying to go out there and be a winner, and he's like, no excuses, no consequences. Like, I don't know, but just the way he delivers that line is just kind of like tugged at my heartstrings, and I just started bawling. like you know, and I don't know, like it had me from the opening, and it had me at the very end. Like, the end made me cry as well, because like it's just like you see this group of this family that's pretty dysfunctional, and they don't like really necessarily kind of like one another, except for like maybe the little girl. Like, she just loves everybody. She loves her family, even though they don't really love each other. And she kind of unites them. And then like what unites them even more is her having to go to this little Miss Sunshine contest. Yeah. And I just love how they seem like so against each other, and then they just seem so for each other at the very end. And it just kind of ties up really nicely. And it's just a really wonderful feel-good movie. And that goddamn horn just like cracks me up every time. I love that freaking horn. Like, I don't know why it makes me laugh. And then like just like the situation of it just not stopping, and then he gets pulled over, and then like the dead body, it's just like it's just like hard. It's just like, it gives me anxiety, but at the same time I can't stop laughing at the same time, because it gave me anxiety the first time I watched it, because I was like, oh God, are they going to find the grandpa in the back? Are they going to find the grandpa in the back? But then like they're just like, okay, no, it's just like the porno max. It's a great movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Oh my God.
I think I've seen that movie like 3 times, and it falls into one of those types of movies for me where it's depressing, but it also makes you happy towards the end of the movie, kind of thing. And
yeah,
a few movies like that for me. One of the other movies like that is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, I love that one too. Yeah.
I always say this when I went to go see it in the theater. I never left the theater so depressed and so happy at the same time.
That's a good way to phrase it. Yeah.
So, like, it was so conflicting leaving the theater. I was like, I love this movie, but it's so depressing, but I feel really happy. I saw, like, it kind of made me feel good, but again, depressed at the same time. I never understood that, but anytime I would watch that movie, it's kind of like an emotional roller coaster to watch. And I say that even Little Miss Sunshine, like, it has like those comedic moments, but also those very well acted dramatic moments between the characters, and then you have them all kind of uniting at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, another gut wrenching moment for me too for Little Miss Sunshine was like, I felt so hard for Paul Dano's character, like when he finds out he's colorblind, and then he finally yells out like a big
yeah. Yeah, because he wants to go into the military, right? He wants to.
Yeah, exactly. I felt so bad for him. I felt so bad for him because, like, man, like he did all this stuff, not talking to his family, shutting them out and stuff like that, hating them even, like all for nothing. And it was just like, it felt,
and he had no choice but to kind of like get together with his family, you know. That's all he had at the moment. So
it just kind of sucked. I felt so bad for him. Oh, and also like with Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, that when he's trying to hide her through like the memories and some of the memories that he that one is just like, oh god,
that's crazy.
But that's my number 5. It's just really great, and I love it. I will always love that movie.
My number 6 is a movie starring Tom Hanks.
Okay.
And it is The Burbs. No, it's not Philadelphia or anything like that. It's a movie called The Burbs that was directed by Joe Dante. It's kind of a dark comedy / horror kind of movie. It's very light on the horror, more on the comedic aspect, a little bit on the dark side.
Any relation to The Birds?
No, it's like for suburbs.
No, I know. I was just trying to say.
Again, another movie we have talked about. Bryce, as you know, also one of his favorite movies as well. Normally, I guess people think of Tom Hanks. This movie doesn't come to people's mind. Mostly movies like Philadelphia. Think more of Castaway. Forrest Gump. Yeah, and the one where he's like the captain.
What was that one called? I forgot.
I've seen pretty much all of those movies. But The Burbs is like one of my top. It's a movie about a guy named Ray Peterson, no relation, Ray, but he is neighbors to the Klopeks, who are kind of a new family that's moved in, and they're very mysterious. They keep to themselves, and the whole cul-de-sac neighborhood is obsessed with them because they never see them. They never see them go out, and they're always wondering what they're doing in there. And it turns out, spoilers for anyone who's watching this, they actually are killing people, and they have like a bunch of skulls and bones in their trunk, which you don't find out until the end of the movie. But through most of the movie, they are under the impression that they have killed one of their neighbors, and they're always trying to snoop around and find out what's going on with the family. But it turns out nothing happened to the neighbor. The neighbor was sick. He went to the doctor. His family took him. They come back and find out that, oh shit, like we're going to get into some huge trouble because they've broken into their house. They've dug through their backyard to find dead bodies and stuff, and they found nothing.
Oh my God.
But at the end of the movie, they end up finding all the bones of these dead bodies in their trunk of the car.
Whoa.
So it's just a funny movie. It's one of my favorite performances from Tom Hanks, and pretty much the whole cast has Corey Feldman in there as well. Like every character in the movie is they're all neighbors, and they all have very unique personalities, very unique quirks to them. And I think it just works really well. And if you know Joe Dante, he's the guy that made he directed Gremlins.
Okay.
So this is kind of in that same aspect. It's a real fun, lighthearted, dark horror comedy kind of movie, and it's just fun from beginning to end. And I mean, most people that see it and like those types of movies, like they end up loving The Burbs. And I've been a huge fan of The Burbs since I was a kid up until now. Again, multiple copies of this movie for some reason. My having like a redundancy of like copies of these films, because I always feel something or another is going to happen where I'm not going to be able to see it, and I have to make sure that I have the capability to watch this movie at any point in time that I like. And so The Burbs, that's for me.
How have I never heard of that film? Like I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to look that one up. That sounds so cool. Like, and you're saying it's a comedy, and yet it seems so dark. Is it like a dark comedy then?
It's like a dark comedy / horror movie. Because Joe Dante, I know Joe Dante's Gremlins is kind of like a dark, I would say dark comedy, but it's like a dark kind of movie. It's a dark kids movie. It's the Gremlins, you know. But Joe Dante is also known for like horror movies and stuff like that. Nothing is coming to mind at the moment, but I know I've seen a lot of Joe Dante movies.
I thought Gremlins was. I thought Gremlins was directed by Chris Columbus, or am I mistaking him for someone else?
No, I think that's Chris Columbus. I know he's like Home Alone and stuff like that. But Joe Dante, I believe, was the one who did Gremlins.
Huh? I thought it was Chris Columbus because I think I'm thinking of another movie, maybe because like it's just like no, he only directed the first two, like because like let me tell you, because like I'm a huge fan of Big Bang Theory, right? And there's this one episode where they're like watching Chris Columbus movies on Columbus Day, or what used to be Columbus Day, right? I don't know if Columbus Day is recognized anymore. I think it might not be. I don't know. I don't remember. But there was an episode of a Columbus Day episode, and they were watching Chris Columbus movies for Columbus Day, and they mentioned the Gremlins, and I was like, So I was like,
Let me double check. You know what? I'm going to double check that right now. No, he directed Gremlins. Yeah.
Wait, what movie am I thinking then? I think I'm confusing.
No. Chris Columbus wrote Gremlins. But
so that's what it was. Okay, so he wrote it, and then Joe Dante directed it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So like I knew, yeah, kind of, yeah, because I knew Chris Columbus was associated with that somehow. I just wasn't sure how. Okay, that makes sense.
So I just want to throw out another Joe Dante movie. It was The Howling, the one about the werewolves. Inner Space with Dennis Quaid and Martin Short. And then he also did Small Soldiers, the one with the toys come to life. Joe Dante.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, okay.
But yes, also in the Burbs, Carrie Fisher comes out, Princess Leia.
Really?
Comes out as well, yeah. So.
Oh wow.
But it's just a fun movie. I like it so much. It almost made me want to live in a cul-de-sac, but realistically, I do not ever want to do that.
I grew up in a cul-de-sac. It's no.
Well, like I would just imagine when I used to deliver pizzas at Pizza Hut, like, and I had to drive into a cul-de-sac. I used to think, man, like, I wonder if these people are always like hanging out with each other in like weird ways, like the Burbs.
It's fun to do like this whole circle thing, like at the circle of the park, with the car. It's fun to do that, but my friend would always do that when dropping me off.
But yeah, so Burbs takes place in a cul-de-sac, bunch of quirky neighbors, little bit of dark humor going around there. It's fun. Check it out if you haven't.
No, yeah, I will. I'll definitely put that on my list too. There's like a lot of movies that you've mentioned so far that I need to put on my list.
Well, I still need to watch. I still need to watch like Amadeus for sure. So.
No, we're gonna watch all of them.
All of them. Well, I'll watch the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice too.
Yes, especially that one.
What's gonna be your number 6? 5? Like 6?
No, we're on 6. Yeah, my number 6 is "Call Me by Your Name."
I've never seen it.
That one, I just like it because it's a beautiful story. It's a story about like this 17-year-old guy and like this 20-something-year-old other guy, and they have an affair with each other. And I just feel like it's just a beautiful film about love. Mm-hmm. and you know how like love comes in all like shapes and forms, stuff like that. Like, you know, it's just it's set in the 80s, and it's set during a time when, like, you know, people weren't really open about that yet. And
I didn't know
and
that.
Yeah, and so they just had this affair with each other over a summer, and then it just kind of ends. And it's just kind of, it has like this really, spoiler alert, I guess, for anybody who hasn't seen it, but like it has like this really beautiful ending where like it stars Timothy Chalamet. He plays the 17-year-old boy, and his name is Elio, and it just has this beautiful ending where it's just kind of like he just gets off the phone with Armie Hammer's character, which is the guy who he had a love affair with, and he finds out that he's getting married to a woman. And then he just kind of goes to like in front of a fireplace. He squats down in front of it, and he just kind of stares into it, and he's just kind of silently crying, and then like the credits roll, but they don't cut the scene. They just kind of let the credits roll as he's kind of staring into the fireplace, and like this song by Sufjan Stevens comes on called Visions of Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of just really beautiful and powerful, because as he's staring into the fireplace, you see him cry, you see him smirk, you see him laugh, you see all of these emotions just kind of running through his face, like kind of like he's almost like reliving what he had with him,
Mm-hmm.
and also so saddened that he'll never have that with him again.
Right.
And it's just kind of like, ultimately, even though it is about like a gay romance, I feel like it goes beyond that. Like it goes for any type of romance, like whether it's gay or hetero or just any type of romance that anyone has experienced. Like sometimes that's just kind of how it happens. Like you have like this amazing thing that doesn't last, and it just breaks your heart, you know?
It's like just a love story that is just that anyone that has feelings can probably relate to, you know, regardless of
exactly.
anyone who or regardless of who's the love is between.
Exactly.
That's good. I honestly I didn't realize it took place like at a certain time where like there's like a backdrop of a particular time when like that kind of relationship was like frowned upon by a lot of people. I thought it took place like modern, like now, like in the late 2000s and stuff like that, or early 2000s, whatever.
No, yeah, it's set in the 80s. It's just that type of like, I guess, like movies set in the 80s that were like the 80s, like the stereotyped 80s isn't kind of thrown in your face, like, you know, with like all like I guess like the like the like the techno clubs or like the wear and stuff like that, because they just look normal. They even look contemporary almost. Right. It's not like it even it in its opening it shows that it's like 1983 or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of like acknowledges or establishes that it's that year, and then it just the story is just told.
Also based on the book. Did you read the book also?
No, but I hear the book is even better than the movie, and I look forward to reading it sometime. Yeah, at some point. Yeah, it's on my long list of books to read, definitely. But yeah, it's just a really beautiful story, and I just acknowledge it for how amazing it came out. And also another fun fact about that film, it was shot on film. Like you know, it wasn't shot digitally. Mm-hmm. It was shot like I guess like on 35 millimeter. And it was really cool because there was this one scene where the film gets messed up, but they kind of kept it because they felt like it kind of went with like the scene. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of see like the film like kind of messed up, like it's kind of got like a little like, what do they call it? It's not like a flare or something like that. I don't know what they call it, with the term for it when it's
the cigarette burn.
Yeah, exactly. It looks kind of like that. Like it looks kind of burnt.
Yeah,
it's like at the top corner, and you can kind of see it. But it's just a good movie. It really is. And it's definitely worth a watch. Yeah, you should.
All right. I would say my next movie. I'm just looking and making sure I'm like have 10 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
You didn't number them?
No, I didn't number.
Mine are numbered.
I just have a list. So, my seventh one. Okay. Number 7 for me is Stand By Me, Stephen King adaptation. Also another Rob Reiner movie. You ever seen Stand By Me?
I've heard of it, but no, I haven't seen that one.
It stars a young River Phoenix, Will Wheaton, Jerry O'Connell, and
Will Wheaton's in there?
Yeah, and they're they're probably like 12, 13 years old or something like that.
Oh wait, is this the one where? That's not the one where they're like playing baseball or something, is it? Or is that another one?
No, that's the Sandlot. I think it's the Sandlot.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. So which one's Stand By Me?
Stand By Me is it's a group of kids, four kids. They go on kind of an overnight looking for a dead body, and it's based off a Stephen King book called The Body. It
Oh.
also stars Kiefer Sutherland as he's kind of like one of the main villains in this movie, and some also relatives, older brothers of those kids. Um, one of the kids overhears one of the gang members talking about uh, seeing the dead body of a boy who's been missing for a couple weeks now. So they decide before they're going to go back to school, which is I think the next week, they want to go look for the dead body to find it, to call the cops and kind of get a reward. So everyone, and the thing is, everyone's also trying to like find this body to kind of get the reward. But most of the movie takes place of those four kids, kind of like it's like a coming of age movie where they're going from like elementary to middle school, and kind of like them all kind of finding their own, kind of not necessarily finding their own way, but kind of the last bit of innocence that they have before they move on to the next part of their life. And it's very, very dramatic movie. It has some fun moments in there as well, but it's mostly very great performance from River Phoenix and Will Wheaton. Pretty much everyone does a great job really honing in on kind of like what it is to be a kid, and even not being a kid who's an outcast, a kid who has kind of the straight and narrow. Even that kid has problems at home because his older brother died. Like it's all these elements together. It's just a great movie. It's been a staple in my house for as long as I can remember, since the first time I saw it, and it still holds up after all these years. It also has Richard Dreyfuss as a narrator.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just a movie about kids kind of coming of age, and what all means. So
I would have never guessed that that's what Stand By Me was about. Like like I said, I've heard of that film, but I like here I was thinking it was like some type of like sport movie, like like a kid sport movie. But
I would say that's probably the one you're thinking of is The Sandlot.
No, I think so too. Yeah,
because the Sandlot has more to do with a group of kids who play baseball, and then their kind of perception of there's like a dog on the other side of the fence, and they hit balls over, and they think this dog's like this gigantic monster, and like there's this whole myth going along with that. But no, this is a different type of movie. I would recommend anyone watching it. If you haven't seen it, like I said, it still holds up to this day. It's still great performances from all the cast. And I didn't realize when I did this, but also I had mentioned Spinal Tap earlier. It was directed by Rob Reiner, which is the comedic mockumentary movie. This was also directed by Rob Reiner.
Really?
Yeah, which is, like I said, a Stephen King adaptation from a novella called The Body. So if you want to check that out, I'd highly recommend it.
Yeah, I need to watch more films. Like so far, have I actually seen any of the ones that you mentioned so far? Like I've heard of a lot of them, but I haven't actually seen like.
I would think most of the movies that I'm talking about are movies that have at least 2 decades in my watch time, I guess.
Oh, okay.
They've either been around since I was like before I was 10 years old, and I've continuously watched them over and over and over and over and over.
Okay. Yeah.
But your next one's Swan.
Okay, let's see. We're on number 7, right?
That is correct.
My number 7 is Birdman.
That's also good. Birdman is a good one. I've seen that one. That was a really good movie.
Yeah, I like Birdman a lot because I saw Birdman for the first time when I was, I think my freshman or sophomore year of college, and I had never seen the Oscar like award ceremony before, like on television before. I've seen like maybe bits and pieces of it, but I'd never seen it from like the start of the show till the end of the show. And this is I was like, you know what? I want to actually see the Oscars from beginning to end. I wanted to be familiar with like the nominations, and so I started watching whatever was nominated that season, and Birdman was one of them, and that's how I ended up watching Birdman. And I mean, come on, Michael Keaton is fantastic in this film. He's just, for me, his performance in Birdman was top notch. I feel like he was kind of snubbed. No offense to like Eddie Redmayne, because I loved him. Like, I love him in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Him, and I genuinely like him as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Theory of Everything wasn't as strong of a film as Birdman was.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like just because like he portrayed Stephen Hawking doesn't necessarily mean that he deserved the Oscar over Michael Keaton.
Right.
That's just my personal opinion. He's still a fantastic actor, and congratulations to him. But I still think that Michael Keaton deserved it. Dang it. I really think he did.
Michael Keaton is a national treasure. Okay. Like,
he is. He really is. See, not you, Nick Cage, Michael Keaton. But see, that's what National Treasure 3 is going to be about, finding Michael Keaton. What was I going to say? But yeah, like, I just loved that movie. It's just kind of, it was amazing to see Michael in that type of role where he's both dramatic and funny at the same time. Like, it's like a dramatic comedy. It's just like, it was like, it had some intense moments where you're like, kind of like, what the heck is going on with this guy? And I don't know, like, I was so captivated with it. I was so impressed with the way it was shot, even though I heard there was like very few edits. They like, ultimately, Iñárritu, which is the director of the film, Mexican director, also representing us, you know, he tried to make it from beginning to end look like it was one continuous shot, and I thought that was really, really cool. That was a really, really cool way to film a movie, like, because like, you know, like, there's like a lot of films with like notoriously like, or like that they have like really iconic long takes or long shots, but I liked how he tried to make the whole film that, and that was really,
and it looks
really
pretty
cool.
seamless, to be honest with you.
It does. No, it does. Like, there's like this one scene that I was just like, how the freak did they do it? Like, and I'll try to describe it to you, so maybe you'll know what I'm talking about. They go from outside, like, and then they go into the window, but the window has kind of like a grating or like a type of like bar or something like that, and it kind of goes through it. And I'm like, how did they pull that off? Because it looks so seamless, you know, like you can't see if it's edited, which maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe like his cinematographer is just like a wizard or something. But like he just went from a window and then through this kind of like little grating, and it was just like, what? It was really, really cool. It's just, I don't know if you know what scene I'm talking about. It's just like a really neat transition.
Yeah, like, well, I noticed this like even just in general, like I said, when the movie's like going, they're following like some of the characters. Like, I was kind of in shock because, like I said, you know, from beginning to end, it kind of looks like it's one shot. There's very rarely that you kind of determine whether or not something is edited or not, and some impossible seemingly shots like that one that you just described. It's well acted. It's shot really well, and I don't know. It's just a really good fucking movie.
I love the fight scene between him and Ed Norton, where he's coming up with like this whole sob story, and then like Ed Norton's kind of like finally like feeling like bad and stuff. He's like, oh shit, I'm sorry, and then he like looks up like all like mischievous, like, you see, I can act too, and then he like just starts being like he was trying to prove something to. I don't know why I couldn't stop laughing when I first saw that film. I was like, oh my god. It was just like, it was an incredible opening too. Like him kind of like levitating there in his tiny ways.
that kind of took me by surprise. Just like, well, what? I didn't know what to expect with that movie. Like, especially I was like, what's going on with this? Like, but it's really good. Just another great Michael Keaton movie. So
and that ending though too, like, I've heard some theories about what the ending might mean. But I'm just like, did he die or not? Like, it's just kind of like left open ended, and just like you don't really know. Like, I'm assuming he did jump, because she kind of looks down and then she like looks up. But I'm like, what?
I'm kind of a fan of like movies that kind of leave the ending kind of ambiguous like that. Like,
yeah,
you just don't know. You have to leave questions, and it kind of leaves you like discussing the movie later on. So you might have to go back and watch it. Or like, oh, maybe I don't know I didn't catch everything. Let me go back and check it out. So.
But it leaves you with all these questions, and like, although like I like the ambiguity sometimes, because like it leaves you it leaves it open to the audience's imagination on what happened. But I also like want the actual answer. Like, I don't want my answer. I want the actual answer of like the people who created it.
Yeah.
And like I have two examples that I can think of. That like one of them was, do you know the movie The Prestige?
Yeah.
Okay, that one I obsessed over for like the longest time, because I didn't know which one was the original Hugh Jackman anymore. And so like I would like literally take like notebook like pads, and like I would like map it out and like try to figure out like at what point the original died, and what, because like he can either be like the one standing like that remains in like that like little teleport thingy, or like that body copy thing, or whatever you want to call it, or he was the one transported. He can't be both.
Yeah.
And so I was like always kind of thinking about, I'm like, well, hell, like, was he the one that got shot, or was he the one that drowned? So I don't know. I have no idea which one he is till this day. Another one is Inception.
I just wanted I felt like I knew you were going to say that.
You knew I was going to say Inception? Yeah, because it's just like a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's kind of like wobbling a lot. And then I have like an interesting kind of theory that I came up with for that one when I was taking astronomy. There's like this term, I can't remember the term. I think it starts with a P. It's kind of like this thing, or this concept that happens to the Earth, like when it swivels on its axis, kind of like a top. And they even use a top for like as an analogy, like for this specific term that I can't think of. It starts with a P. I need to look it up, and maybe I'll send it to you so you can write it at the bottom. But like it like it's kind of swivels at the top like every so often, and then like apparently the whole idea is that like it eventually will shift like its axis, so like north will be south and south will be north, whatever. So it'll kind of like flip around or something like that. But before it does that, it kind of like does like the whole top thingy. And
it's not just it's not called polar shift, is it?
No. It's something else. I don't know if I'm confusing the two like things, or like they're two different things, or they're linked together. But like it's like this thing where like it kind of like goes like that on its axis, and then thinking about our world doing that, like a top. I kind of like thought about Inception, like his top in Inception. And I kind of used that analogy of thinking like, oh, well, maybe it's kind of swiveling like that because he's kind of like stuck somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Both, like, because both reality and the world he created with his wife are just as real to him. And so like I felt like maybe that's kind of like whatever that term that I can't think of, that's kind of like what's happening with him. Like both things are now just equally real to him, so it doesn't matter anymore. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I've looked on some theories online for that, but you can go down like one of those rabbit holes of a bunch of like it's just nuts.
I'll have to look it up later.
There's like so many theories for any of these types of movies. There's never a solid answer, and it's fun to go and look at like everyone's perspective on like what they think might have happened, because technically they could all be right, you know. So
but yeah,
so that's what movie were we talking about?
We were talking about Birdman because of its ambiguous ending. Yeah. And then I just wanted to give like two examples of like ambiguous endings that kind of bothered me. So
is there any other thing you wanted to say about Birdman?
No, well, I said everything I needed to say because I thought he should have won. I'm glad that it won best picture and that United won best director, but I think Michael Keaton deserved best actor.
It did win best picture. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it did. It won best picture and best director, but he didn't get best actor for it. So boo.
All right. Well, speaking of my number 8 movie, maybe it won some stuff. I'm not too sure, but it's the Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, I finally I've seen one, and I love that movie. I love that movie. That movie's so freaking good. That movie's good.
Probably one of another Stephen King adaptation of a novella, Shawshank Redemption, and something. The name of his wife, I forgot her name. But this movie, I think the story itself is really good. I think it's mostly like anytime I'm like fascinated with a movie that I've seen many times, and I never get tired of it ever. Whether it's the edited version that they try to show you on TV or the actual movies that the unedited versions that you can watch. I just think the acting is fantastic in this movie. Is it Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman?
Yeah.
You really feel kind of like the struggle of this person. You know he's innocent.
Yeah.
And he's kind of just going through the motions in this whole jail system here. And I don't really know what else to say about this movie other than I just like it a lot. And acting's great, story's great. Surprised they expanded it as long as they did because the book itself is really short. And it hits on every point. It almost hits on like every point that the book does, the movie.
Yeah.
And it expands on it a little bit more. And I think they did a great job. I forget who directed the movie. I swear to God, if it's Rob Reiner again, I'm going to be upset.
Because you try to limit yourself and then you...
I got to double check on that. Hold up. Frank Darabont. Oof, I was close. I don't know. It's just a really good movie. I don't know what to say about it because I'm pretty sure everyone's seen it at some point, and I don't know anyone that I've spoken to that does not like The Shawshank Redemption if they've seen it.
Man, it's a good film. I saw it with friends, and it was one of those moments where I was supposed to be hanging out with friends, but I was so like immersed into like the story. Yeah, and I couldn't like pull my attention away from it, and it was such a great film. And I only unfortunately have seen it the one time, but I loved that movie, and I would love to watch it again. It's definitely.
It definitely has like a rewatchable quality. I mean, like,
oh yes, it does.
Anytime it's on TV, I watch it. Anytime I have the opportunity to, I watch it. Even if it's just in the background, I already know kind of what's going on. It still has the same effect, and I think that's what is a good characteristic of a good movie. Like you can watch it as many times, and it still has the same effect on you.
Oh yeah,
as you're watching it for the first time. And I don't know why that's the case with this movie, but it's just really great. And I don't think it's one of Stephen King's best novellas by far, but I think the movie really gave it more life. And of course, like I said, Morgan Freeman, Tim Robbins, and all these other characters. It's just a really powerful movie. Just some of it's close to The Green Mile or something like that.
Oh wow! Okay, that one I haven't seen, but yeah, no, it is really powerful, and like you just feel for him when he finally gets out. It's just
and I think it lends itself to how actually good a writer Stephen King actually is. Because I mean, we're always used to his horror movies and the tropes he kind of gives. I mean, we've seen them, we've heard them, but there's like those outliers in his catalog, like I said, The Green Mile or Shawshank Redemption, that are just stories about like struggle and hope and like kind of overcoming on all that kind of stuff. Very basic concepts, but they're done really well, and that's why I love this movie.
No, yeah, I agree. It's a great film, and people, if there's anybody out there who hasn't seen it, they really should. They really should give it a watch because it's worth it.
Absolutely. What's your next movie, Swan?
Harold and Maude.
Man, I've almost watched that movie. I haven't though. Like I almost wanted to watch it, I'm not even kidding you. Like probably like 3 months ago, I saw it was available, and I was like, you know what? I've never seen this film. I'm gonna watch it. And then
You
I did.
should. Oh my god, you should definitely watch this film. Like the way I came across it, it was back when like I got into the Criterion collection, and I was just trying to see what that collection was about and stuff like that. So when I was working at Barnes Noble, like the first time around, I was working in the music department, and when I was like shelving the stuff for the Criterion sale, like I would kind of like look at some of the stuff as it came in. I would read the synopsis of like the ones that caught my attention, and Harold and Maude caught my attention. And then I read the back of it, and I was like, huh, this sounds really interesting. So I went home and I kind of tried to find it online, and I was able to find it, and I watched it. I think it was on Netflix at the time that I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Netflix might have streamed it when I first saw this movie, and I watched it there, and it was just it's a really feel good with a sad ending type of movie. Like, you know, like it's like it is like a mixture of emotions. I wouldn't say like so far as saying like a roller coaster of emotions, but it is like a conflicting emotions, because it's about this guy who's like in his early 20s, and he's like this really, what you like, I think it's set in like what, the 60s or 70s. I can't remember what decade it's set in, but whatever decade it is, it's kind of like what, like if there were emos back then, that's what this guy would be. He's like this like really like dark kind of kid who's like wanting to get the attention of his mom, and the way he tries to get the attention of his mom is by like, you know, reenacting suicide attempts and stuff. And then he falls in love with an old lady. And that's where I'll leave it. I'll leave it at that.
I've heard of like premises about this movie, and
yeah, but it's like, it's not even like, you know, it's not done in a really gross way or anything. Like kind of like, oh, like, you know, it's kind of, it's the story is told in a way where you understand why they fall in love with each other. They kind of fall in love with each other's vibe, I guess.
Hey, it happens sometimes.
But it's a good film, and like if you want to see it, I don't want to spoil it too much.
Oh, so. I do want to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that, like, I didn't really spoil anything. I was just kind of talking about his personality, because it opens with that, and yeah, he falls in love with her. So that's my number 8.
I think I read the back of that Criterion description, and it sounded interesting. I think that's why I wanted to watch it. But like, I don't know about you, but there's certain movies that you can kind of just put on and leave it, and it's not like an issue if it's just on. There's some movies that like if I'm gonna put it on, like I feel like I have to have this mental. I have to be prepared mentally to watch it, and I feel like that one. I
definitely have films where I need to mentally prepare myself, because like sometimes I'll even do like what you're saying. I'll read, like if I'm like streaming through like Netflix or whatever other streaming type of site, like I'll like read the synopsis. I'll see like how long the duration of like the film, and I'll be like, okay, do I have like the mental capacity to sit through this?
Yeah.
So I know what you mean. Yeah,
it's because you want to actually pay attention.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Distracted, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I guess my number 9, we're getting close to the end here, is The Departed. Ooh,
oh my god. Okay, wait. Are you talking about the one I think you're talking about with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, all right.
I am talking about the one, and
yes, I've seen that one.
It's funny. I was on TikTok earlier today, and I'm kind of like follow a lot of movie TikTokers and stuff like that. And they were kind of going through Martin Scorsese films and what it kind of says about you. And this one came up, says, "Ooh, yeah, everybody likes The Departed. Wow, you're so edgy," and stuff like that. And I just started laughing because I thought it was funny, because as they were going through most of his movies, ideally, and I would agree with this, that Goodfellas is a really good movie as well. And Martin Scorsese does a lot of good movies, and Goodfellas is one of those really good ones, and I like that one a lot too. Yeah. But The Departed was one of those that when it just came out and I saw it for the first time, I was hooked. I love this movie.
Yeah.
It's got a great cast. It might be a little bit, the cast may be, I guess, a little bit overdone because there's a lot of people, but I feel like everyone gets a good screen time. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is great in it. Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg. I just love the story from beginning to end. And it was like, I'm not a big fan. I really am not of like mafia type films and stuff like that. That's just not like the films I gravitate towards. But this one was one of those, and I was just hooked. And it kind of shocked me at the end. I've seen this movie so many times. And that's probably the case with most of these movies. I've seen them like a million times.
Yeah.
But I just thought the story was really great. And it was my first time actually delving into Martin Scorsese, the director, when he came out with something fairly new. I'd mostly seen some of his old. I still haven't seen like Taxi Driver. I've always wanted to watch that one. I never have. But the only one I've really seen is Goodfellas, and probably like a few after that. But Goodfellas was like the one that stood out to me the most. And then this was like my Martin Scorsese movie that I discovered on my own for the first time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just had me hooked. It's a great, like I said, everyone does a great job. The story's great. The action's great. Even it's not too much action either. It's just more of like a kid going undercover, kind of like getting too deep, and just all these informants, FBI, like the FBI is involved, and all this betrayal, all these backstabbing, there's rats everywhere, and it's just nuts. And I love it. So, Departed.
I was gonna say about The Departed, because Leonardo DiCaprio, I mean, I don't have anything against him, but I do like to hate on him, and just because I think it's funny too. And back when like people were all like, "Oh, give Leo his first Oscar, give Leo his Oscar, give Leo his Oscar," like I would always, I made this whole rant about it on Facebook on how I thought he didn't deserve the Oscar because he does the same shit all the time. He always gets angry. He always yells. He always dies. He's just like does the same thing constantly in each film.
Have you seen What's Eating Gilbert Grape?
Yes, I have. Yes. He screams in that one. He screams too.
He doesn't die though.
but okay, let me tell you. So about The Departed, though, I will say it probably has one of my favorite and most memorable Leo deaths, because I was just really shocked by it, because I was so taken aback that he died mid-sentence. He just kind of like, oh, elevator opens, boom, he's fucking dead.
Yeah, and you know
I was like, what?
That's probably one of the things that like shocked me about this movie. Like, I thought in my head like things were gonna just pan out, right? Matt Damon's character was gonna get his, and that was it. Like Leo was gonna kind of be able to find his redemption and like get out of the situation and finally live his life. But the minute that door opens up and just bam, and I was just like, oh.
I was like, what? I know. I was just like, I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. Honestly, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
And so that's I mean, I only got to see again that movie once, but that scene definitely resonated with me. I mean, how can it not? It's just so unexpected.
I think a lot of the movie itself has to do with like unexpected moments, and that is one of them. And again, a lot of the fact that there's a lot of betrayal going on, and like you don't find out towards the end, people end up dying because of it. But that last moment in the movie where there's like a rat crawling across the little balcony there, kind of is basically what the movie is. There's like a bunch of rats in like police stations.
What is a rat? So like, wait, this rat that you're talking about, is that like kind of supposed to be like symbolic with about like, you know,
I
the betrayal and stuff?
I would imagine so. But it goes across the balcony of Matt Damon's apartment when Mark Wahlberg shoots him at the very end. Like, again, I felt like Matt Damon was gonna get away with it, and then he opens his door with his groceries, and Mark Wahlberg's in there, like all covered up, like, and he has a gun pointed at him. He's just like, "Oh, come on!" And this boom, just blows him away, and then he walks away. I'm like, "What the fuck just happened?" You know? But yeah,
my God.
I just really like that movie a lot, and I've seen it so many times. And I feel like I've said that like a million times because let me just say this: the next movie I've seen a million times also. So before I have to
Hey,
say
it's
that
okay.
one more time.
We can reiterate as much as we want, right?
All right. What's your number 9, Swan?
My 9 is, I think you've seen this one too, Ray. I think we talked about this one. Sunshine by Danny Boyle. He did 28 Days Later.
I've not seen Sunshine.
You haven't seen that one?
I've not.
Okay.
I know. I have
Do you
seen
know what
28 Days Later. I know I'm familiar with Danny Boyle, but I've never ever seen Sunshine.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, like, I feel like this is just, I mean, I love sci-fi, particularly sci-fi that has to do with space travel, or space adventures. And this one is just really well executed, albeit, I mean, it's of course sci-fi science fiction, so it's about a concept that's probably impossible, or not probably, but is scientifically impossible. But it's the execution of the story that is so well done. And it's got Cillian Murphy and a bunch of other actors that I unfortunately don't know or can't recall their names, but I've known them from other works. And it's a group of scientists that are sent into space on the spaceship called Icarus, because their whole mission is to reignite the sun because the sun is dying. But so they're on this spaceship, and they have like this bomb that's the size of Manhattan, and they're supposed to deliver that payload over to the sun and release it, and then try to make it back in time. And then the sun's supposed to be reignited by this bomb setting off on it.
Right.
It's so really well done. Oh, Chris Evans is in it.
Oh, okay.
Aha! Yeah, I know people like Captain America, so if you like Captain America, you should go watch this movie. He's kind of an a-hole in it, but like it's still good. He does redeem himself. I will say he does redeem himself, but he is an a-hole. but yeah, he wait, what was I saying? Yeah, like this movie is just like really good. It's visually stunning. I know I keep saying that a lot because I just like acknowledging like the technical things about film, because I studied film, so I'm a little bit of a film nerd. But the story.
That's the whole thing. Is that like there's a lot of things that we like about the movie, not just overall, but
not just like the actors. Yeah, and then I liked, like I said, the way the story was just delivered. And Christopher Nolan, this is how you do sci-fi or science movie, because you disappointed me with Interstellar. I don't like Interstellar. Okay, I just wanted to point that out there. The haters can come at me. I don't like that movie. It had poor character development. It was just like the storyline was just all over the place. Get your shit together. And I was hyped up for Interstellar, and then when I finally saw it, I was like, "What the heck? What is this? What was that? Are you kidding me?" So Nolan has yet to.
I've only seen Interstellar one time, so it was all right.
And Nolan has yet to redeem himself after that for me. And people praise that movie, and I'm like, "Nope, I'm sorry, but you're wrong." And then I bring up Sunshine, and I'm like, "Here, you want a good science movie, sci-fi movie? Watch this movie right here." And they're like, "Oh, but like he actually had actual science." And I'm like, I don't care if like the science he used in that film was accurate to like, the science of today or whatever. I don't care. The execution matters, and he didn't execute it or utilize it correctly. So take that. I don't know. That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say about Sunshine. It's a good movie. It's kind of like a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Can I ask you a question? Is it part of like a series of movies?
No. Which one? Sunshine? No.
Sunshine, no.
I don't think so. No.
It's because
I think it depends.
I think I'm getting it mixed up with another movie that I feel it's called Sunshine or something having to do with the sun, and it's like part of like 3 movies or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember. It's just maybe something I made up in my own head. So.
Oh, you're trying to see if I broke my role, huh? How about the sequel stuff for the series? No, I'm pretty sure it's standalone. Yeah.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying is that like I thought in my mind I thought Sunshine was associated with some other films, but maybe I was wrong.
No, I'm pretty sure it's just I don't think I've never heard of a sequel for it. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I would have known if I did because I love that movie. I've seen it countless times. Like, I can't remember how many times I've seen it, but no, I love that film a lot. And I'm pretty sure it's just that one. I don't think there's anything of it. Maybe something that's similar to it. I don't know. I have
maybe.
no idea.
But I think the premise that you're telling me is different from what I thought it was, because the premise you're telling me is different from what I remember hearing in the movie.
Yeah, the premise of this one is just like the sun's dying, so the Earth's gonna die if the sun dies. So they have to somehow reignite the sun, and so that they send the team of scientists to go reignite it.
All right, Swan, we're down to our last movies here.
Oh, I know.
The last movie for me, favorite of all time, is The Thing, another John Carpenter movie.
Oh wow!
The Thing is a classic horror movie, also, but a remake of The Thing from Outer Space. But of course, with John Carpenter's twist of more body horror. Also with Kurt Russell, surprise.
Yeah.
This movie has held up in the practical effects. I think the best thing about this movie is very obvious is the practical effects. They stood out. There's like no CGI or anything. There might be some kind of like camera trickery and stuff like that, but a lot of it still holds up to this day. It has a very Lovecraftian type of monsters. I love Lovecraft, and I love the very type of alien type of monsters that come and destroy or kind of have an indifference to humanity. And I think that's where this is coming from. A alien being or alien force that kind of, or that infiltrates everyone's bodies without them actually knowing until they actually attack other people, and then kind of multiplies and all that kind of stuff. But it deals with a lot of like ancient type of things from many millennia ago, before humans even existed, kind of coming to life again. Again, practical effects. Kurt Russell's in it. Anything Kurt Russell in it, I'll probably give it a chance because I love Kurt Russell. It has a lot of the same actors in John Carpenter films. I don't remember the names, but I have seen them in many other films as well. Has Wilford Brimley, the diabetes guy, the old man.
Diabetes. The one with the mustache.
Yeah, the glasses. Mustache, like, if you got diabetes, like,
yeah. I remember those like during the Price is Right.
It has to do with aliens. Another movie thing that I love. It's horror, straight up. That's John Carpenter's soundtrack, which I love. I love anything John Carpenter does musically. It's got Halloween, classic. Everyone knows some kind of John Carpenter type of music when they hear it. It's very synthy, very dark.
I love synth
music.
I love synthy stuff.
No, yeah, me too. Let me see what else. I think that's it. I mean, like, it's just has held up all these years, because most of the times you see like old horror movies and they have practical effects, they're real shit, like they don't hold up really well. But John Carpenter does it really well in this movie, and it's just a classic all around. My favorite movie.
Even though they don't hold up well, you can still sometimes appreciate it for the time that they were made in. You're like, they come up campy, but you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what they had though at the time.
You can put them into context, but even today's standard, some of those practical effects, like they still have an effect on people. Like if you see it, it's grotesque, all this body horror, just pieces of your body just stretching apart and all this kind of stuff, and heads kind of floating in the air. It's just crazy, and I love it. I love all that stuff, and that is why this movie holds up for me as one of my favorites. Probably not my top favorite, but one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah. I know that I've probably seen bits and pieces of The Thing. I haven't seen all of it. And you're talking about the original, right? Not the remake?
Well, see, the thing is, this version of The Thing in the 80s was a remake of an old black and white one called The Thing from Outer Space.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I didn't know that. Okay, I thought that one. I thought I thought the one from the 80s was the original one, and then there was like a newer one that was like
they did a new one, but they called that one a prequel. But that one was like, it's not very good, and it was kind of done not in the sense where like it was intended to be that, like they were like gonna it's almost like a remake, but they just call it a prequel because I mean there's a lot of almost the storyline is almost the same.
Yeah.
But it just the characters apparently lead up to the John Carpenter version. But it's done very sloppily. It's not done very well. So I mean, I think it was just kind of like a cast, but yeah. So
I hate when they do shit like that.
It happens, you know.
Yeah.
Money is a motivator for a lot of people just to do some dumb shit. So.
Oh yeah.
So Swan, what's your last pick?
My last one is Atonement. It's another Joe Wright directed he directed Pride and Prejudice, Anna Karenina, that episode that I still can't remember from Black Mirror. And it's again stars Keira Knightley, James McAvoy, Benedict Cumberbatch is a supporting actor in there, and what's her name? She's from Dirty Dancing Havana Nights. I can never pronounce her name, but she's like the pretty blonde.
I never saw that Dirty Dancing.
Like Romola Garai. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name. I just she's a wonderful actress, and she's also like one of the stars in this movie too. And what this film is about is it starts off, I think. What's the war that had the Dunkirk battle?
Oh man, I don't know.
I can't remember if that's World One. What is it? World War I or II, or I can't remember.
I thought it was World War II, but I mean I've never seen Dunkirk, so I don't really know for sure. I'm just kind of
it's because I only remember that it's one of those wars, or I know that seems like the Dunkirk thing because when Christopher Nolan, this is already when I hated him because of Interstellar. When he came out with Dunkirk, I was like saying, "Oh look, I bet like this like long shot in Atonement of the Dunkirk battle is better than his like 2-hour film." So
and it was.
I was just to me, I don't know. I've never seen Dunkirk, but I was just assuming that it like that one long take that happened in Dunkirk in the movie Atonement was better than whatever he came up with. Because I don't know, I was just being like. Because of Interstellar, so I was just like,
I've never seen Atonement. I don't think I've even heard of the movie before.
Okay, well, just really quick, what Atonement is about? It's about this girl when she was like, maybe 9 or 10. Let's say 9 or 10, right? I don't know. She witnesses something, and she twists it into her own sadistic story that gets him into trouble, like James McAvoy's character into trouble. And so she would she had a crush on him, like she's just like a little girl, but he's already like a full-grown adult.
Right.
And she witnesses her eldest sister and her crush, like, you know, engaged in a sexual setting. And when she tells the story, though, she, instead of it seeing it and recognizing it for what it was, she lies knowingly, saying that he was sexually assaulting her. And so he gets arrested, and all this stuff kind of happens because of her lie. And so spoiler kind of alerts coming on. So essentially, like, the whole story is like she's trying to atone for that horrendous lie that she told as a child. And she's doing this as an old lady, through a book as a book. She's writing a novel as her way of atonement.
Oh, okay.
To what she did to her sister and the guy that she had a crush on, because unfortunately the reality of it was that they both died at a very young age. But in her story, she gets to let them live on and live the life that they were supposed to live, even though they couldn't live it in actuality. And that's why it's called atonement, because she feels like she's having them live on through her novel, like through her written word, which I still think is fucked up, because like, I mean, she ruined both of their lives.
Right.
And I don't, even though the movie's called Atonement, I still don't think she's atoned for shit, you know? I'm just like, fuck you, lady. It's just, you so still like kind of, yeah.
It's basically for her is what she's doing. Like she's doing.
Yeah, she's doing it for herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Atonement. Yeah.
It's a good movie, but it's just kind of like, you can't help but hate her from beginning to end, because she's like a little shit.
And who's the main character again? Like who's the? Well,
she like the main character is that character, the one that's trying to atone for what she did. And
I'm sorry, I meant the actor. Like the actor, like who's the actor who does it?
Well, she's played by 3 women. And as a kid, she's played by Saoirse Ronan. Like I think that's how she pronounces her name. She comes out in Lady Bird and Little Women.
Okay, all right.
Like the newest adaptation, yeah. So like she plays her as a little girl. Then the one from Dirty Dancing Havana Nights, the remote, like the other lady that I can't pronounce her name correctly, she plays her as like a young adult, not like a teenager, but more like someone in their like maybe 20 to 30 age range.
Mm-hmm.
And then I unfortunately don't know who, like the actress who plays her as an old woman, but yeah. And you don't really get to see her as an old woman very much. It's like it more shows you like her as a kid, her as a young adult, and then like at the end you see her as an old woman.
Okay.
But yeah, but she's like the main character of the story, because she's the one that's trying to atone for herself for like the shitty thing that she did. Yeah.
All right. So that's your number 1.
It's really good. No, well, it's my number 10. No, there's no like top 10. Yeah, it's my number 10.
That's the last in your list of top 10.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's my list.
Now, all right. So that is our top 10 list of our favorite movies. No franchise, no sequels. And even though I claimed all these rules beforehand, I broke every single one of them. As do you have any maybe like about 3
honorable mentions?
Yeah.
Let me see. Probably I do like Anna Karenina. It's another book adaptation, like based off of like who wrote Karenina? Was it Nabokov or Tolstoy? I can't remember who wrote Anna Karenina. But yeah, like it's about like Anna Karenina is about like this woman who's married, and she has an affair with a younger man, and and it's set in Russia, and she has to pay the consequences for her affair. And it's just like this really beautifully movie. But the adaptation that I like of that one again is Keira Knightley. She's just one of my favorite actresses. Okay, and I like Joe Wright, and Joe Wright.
No apologies.
Directed this one too. Yeah, no, I'm not apologizing. I have no shame.
You've seen my list, right? I have no shame whatsoever.
Yeah, like it was just really well done, and I like the way that he went about like that film, like because like the way it's shot is kind of like a changing stage, like a theater stage.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like it's like really cool, and a lot of people were kind of like off put by it, but I thought it was really cool because it's just kind of like they're acting out the drama of their lives, like, you know. So like, what is drama? Drama is like theater, and so it's kind of like affiliated that way, and so it just kind of makes sense to me why it was shot that way. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so it's really wonderfully shot, like, and the set looks like a stage intentionally because they're constantly changing the backgrounds, like so the backgrounds behind them change like they would, like, if you were watching like an actual live performance.
Right.
And it's just really, really, really good. And so that's one honorable mention that almost made it to my list, but I felt like I liked Atonement a little more than that one. And then another one that I wish I could have fit on my list, but I just felt like, I have a lot of period pieces, I want to mix it up a little bit, is Jane Eyre, the one with Michael Fassbender and Mia Wasikowska. She's the one that, that one is so beautiful. It's just like the way their performances, the cinematography, it's just really well done. Like, the music that they chose for it is really, really lovely. It's just a really good film. And then the third one, I can't think of the third one, so you tell me.
Okay.
Some of your
I'll tell you the three that I'm thinking right here. Okay, so one of them is it's called Fear of a Black Cat, and basically that is think of Spinal Tap, the way I described as a rock band in the 80s, and it's like a documentary style, but it's of a fake band. Fear of a Black Cat takes place in the 90s, but it's of a rap group during the time where gangster rap is like a big thing.
Okay.
It's kind of Spinal Tap, but like exaggerated even more because it has the rap element to it, a lot of racism, a lot of misogyny, a lot of overt gun usage in the music like that. But it's a comedy. This is just a straight up comedy, and it's one of my favorites. I found it. I saw it randomly on Cinemax one late night here. I just remember the title coming up. I'm like, oh, I'll check it out. Saw it, thought it was hilarious. Went to my local video store, told the guy. The video store is just 2 blocks from my house, and I told the guy, I was like, hey, I saw this movie. I don't remember what it was called, and I described what it was to him, and he was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And gave me the movie, and I think I rented it like 10 times in a row because I had to show everybody this movie. I thought it was so funny, and a lot of my friends are like fans of it as well because it's just over the top ridiculous, like more than Spinal Tap could ever be. So there's that one. Then there's Ghost World. I don't know. Ghost World is adapted from a graphic novel.
Okay.
It stars Scarlett Johansson and Thora Birch.
Okay.
It's kind of emo-ish in the 90s, kind of, and it stars Steve Buscemi as well. It's a very depressing movie, especially at my age now. Back when I saw it when I was younger, I identified more with. It's funny the Thora Birch character because of how she kind of hates everything and like everyone bothers her, and she just kind of just graduating high school, doesn't know what to do with her life, and just kind of like trying to figure stuff out. I watch it now and I relate to more Steve Buscemi's character, and I get really depressed watching the movie because his character is really sad, and his relationship with Thora Birch, like, it's just really, it gets really weird, and it's just kind of gut wrenching. It's not like true dramatic, but it has like a really awkward. It's just really awkward, and that's one of my favorites. I watched that one for an entire year one time too. Like, just every day, I just had it on. Ghost World has nothing to do with ghosts, by the way. Like, nothing to do with ghosts.
One thing I will say about Steve Buscemi, every time I think of him, like, I always think of like that. I think isn't in Con Air, like, when like there's little girls like in a pool with him, and she's like, "You got the hoe in your hands." I always think of that scene specifically when I think of Steve Buscemi, and then of course he's in Armageddon, right?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So yeah.
Steve Buscemi, great, love him.
Yeah, love him
too. I'm gonna throw out 2 more just real quick. One of them is Kevin Smith's Dogma.
That's a good one. Yeah, that one's freaking funny.
The most awkwardly pro-religious or pro-Catholic movie that I've ever seen, even though it's not like kind of bashes Catholicism at some points, but it also kind of promotes at least spirituality in a way. I love the dynamic between Matt Damon and Ben Affleck as the 2 angels that are cast out of heaven, and the Metatron. I forget his name, and they're probably gonna kill me for that. He's the guy that plays the villain in Die Hard.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman, yes. Sorry.
Come on, he's Professor Snape.
As Metatron. Sorry, like, yes, Metatron. Alan Rickman, and Alanis Morissette is God. Ridiculous. So that's another one of my favorite movies. And the last one is The Big Lebowski, Coen Brothers.
Oh,
Um,
I have a Coen's brother I could throw out there, but you go first.
well, it's gonna be The Big Lebowski. It was honestly I had a between The Big Lebowski and Raising Arizona. I love both those movies, but I love probably the problem is that John Goodman comes out in both those films, and I love his character in both those movies. Like he's just nuts, and he's just so good. And I'll say The Big Lebowski because his character when he pulls out the gun on the guy when they're bowling and shit, and he goes, am I the only one who gives a shit about the rules? Like, and he pulls out the gun. Like, I love it. It's great. But those are my honorable mentions.
No Country for Old Men is so that's a good one.
Really
like good. That I loved that ending because it's just kind of like you have like your protagonist, which is that guy, and then he's just kind of like there, and then you expect that at some point, like you're like, oh, he's just gonna like come out like the victor, and he doesn't. Like he gets fucking killed, and but that's why I like the movie. And then you're like, okay, so wait, the antagonist is gonna win this, and then he doesn't really win either because he leaves from killing like that guy's wife, and then like he gets like T-boned.
You're like,
and he's just kind of like limping away.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a movie where like it's just kind of feels so realistic, and it's just kind of like in the way that like sometimes no one wins. Like that's just the reality. Sometimes it's just like there is no good or bad. There's just no person who's just gonna come out on top. Sometimes that's just the way things are,
Yeah, absolutely.
And another one that I also one more is There Will Be Blood.
Oh, okay. Daniel Day-Lewis, huh?
Yeah, I like that scene that like we're at the very end. Have you seen the ending of that movie?
No, I actually never seen that movie.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of Daniel Day-Lewis movies. I've never seen.
I wanted to say the line, but I don't want to ruin it for you either. It's because after me and my sister watched that movie, like we would watch it like a number of times together, and we would always quote this like one specific line.
Go ahead, you can say it if you want.
It's just like he says like, I drink your milkshake, I drink it up. And he's just like, it don't make sense when you watch the movie, but it's just kind of like
I've seen that clip because I've seen a lot of lists where like that movie's mentioned. I don't understand the context of that at all.
Yeah. No, you have to watch it to understand. Movie, yeah. But it's just like it's a good movie.
Okay, well, Swan, thank you for joining me today to talk about your top 10. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well.
Of course I did. I had a blast. Thank you for having me.
Hopefully we can have you on again whenever we can talk about a specific movie if you like.
Oh yeah.
You can probably join us whenever we actually do a whole group thing. And anytime we invite someone on, I always let them know that don't hesitate to talk shit if you need to, because everyone's kind of immune already. Everyone knows that everyone's got a layer on them already to talk shit, because a lot of people have, and that's just the way we do things around here. So never hesitate to restrain yourself. Say whatever you want.
All right, we'll do.
Thank you again for joining me.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll get you on next time. And thank you, anyone out there. You can like and subscribe or do all that other stuff where you get notified whenever we actually put out another episode. So thank you, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you. Bye.